You are the third in the portfolio series of alumni. So we're really delighted to invite you back, and it's really lovely to see you.
It's lovely to see all you. It's nice to see faces again.
Yeah, so you only graduated last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
A lot's happened since then.
Yeah, it's been a weird time, hasn't it? Weird time.
And of course, you graduated during that first lockdown, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. That was strange. It was kind of sad. It was sad because we couldn't all see each other. So that, you know, it was a bit rubbish how it all ended. But we've got there. We've all done it now. So we managed it.
Okay, so we've invited Belinda back to show us really just the portfolio that she left with from Plymouth College of Art Textiles, so that, and just to ask her for her kind of insights. She might want to talk a little bit about what she's been doing from a design point of view, and any tips that she has. The main tips that we've had that I can kind of remember are that to always have bulldog clips. That's really useful. And also to not have too heavy a boards. So you might be able to add to those top tips. So it's all about compiling your portfolio. So I'm going to hand over to you now.
Okay then. Well, hello everyone. I see a few faces I know. So it's nice to see everyone again. Kind of brings back old feelings now from uni. Yeah, so hello and welcome to my little kind of tips advice, I guess. And yeah, you can move on, Kathy, if you want.
Okay.
So I've started off with my first year. So I only took one thing from my first year that I've put in my portfolio, which was the live brief that I did for Broom. And we did we designed wall stickers for them, which was, I think it was the first year they did this, wasn't it? They hadn't done this before. Yeah. So they told us they wanted it, you know, who they wanted it for, to be for first time home buyers, like new couples maybe moving into a house and things like that. So that was the kind of market we had to do for them. And luckily I was one of, I don't know if it was 3 of us that got picked. Mm-hmm. So I was one of the ones that got picked and sold them my design, which was pretty cool for a first year thing. It's always a good feeling, I think. So with this mood board, so it's nice. I know you guys are doing it all digitally now, so yeah, don't be afraid to like layer images, even though you're doing it digitally on your, if you've got to do still boards and things, but in a digital version, still layer things on top. Just because it's digital doesn't mean you can't, you know, layer things over on top of each other like I've done here. I mean, this was what I did in my first year. For me, that looks a bit too busy to what I probably do now. But yeah, don't be afraid to layer things and or keep things simple like I've done here, just 2 visualizations and very simple. But the only thing is like Kathy said with boards, is they are heavy. So for a portfolio, like my portfolio weighs a ton, so I wouldn't take like everything that I'm presenting to you today to say an interview. No way. It was just.
So is that these are actual boards, are they?
Yeah, these are boards. That's just photos of the boards. But it can get quite weighty, so I wouldn't recommend.
Yeah, I think we started, didn't we, Emma, sort of saying we must need to stop saying boards, we must say sheets. And I know that when Charlotte Venn was here, she was talking about, I think, or maybe it was Lucy, but as a rough rule of thumb, a 300 GSM is a kind of thicker paper. So that's like the perfect kind of weight, really.
Yeah, I think paper works well because we did that in our final year for so that was a lot better, I think, on just a bigger thick paper. So yeah, you can carry on scrolling down for a bit. So I did a live brief in my second year, and I collaborated with a then third year student who wanted some prints for her graduate final project. And she picked me out of the few people that did want to help her to do some prints for her, which was pretty cool. Like, she set up a photography shoot for it and let me have the photos to use. So one thing I do recommend is when you're using other people's photographs is always credit who those photos, you know, who the photographer was and who the actual fashion designer was. So, you know, I've got to credit those guys for part of this work as well. So I've done that on the board. So if you scroll down, Kathy, on the next page, you can see that I've put their names on the board as well. So if I was to take that to an interview, everyone would be credited, even on, you know, your online portfolio, things like that. Always credit other people. So there's a little tip for you.
I think that's a really important tip, because, you know, making sure you're credited, because one year we did have one student, I think it was Hannah Seaward, who collaborated with a fashion student, and I don't think she didn't make her feelings known enough, but she wasn't credited. And I think, you know, I would have argued that the major bit of the design was the textile design. So I think it's really important that you make sure that if you are collaborating, that you make sure that you have that credit, and you make sure that that's a stipulation of that collaboration, really.
Yeah.
But yes, you got some nice work out of that, didn't you?
Yeah, it was nice. It was good in the end. I mean, it was something a bit different to what I had done, psychedelic prints and things. So it was quite simplistic designs, but it was a bit of fun for them. I mean, I did it really quickly, and wasn't really expecting for her to choose me, if I'm honest. I just did it because it was just a bit of fun and something different. It seemed quite playful, and she chose my designs, which was nice. And yeah, if you scroll down to the next one, Kathy, so can see, so that's where I've credited the, you know, the other guys involved in that. And yeah, I think it's nice just to put those images together. I just put them on a board at the time. Like I said, I would probably choose a sheet now instead of a board. But yeah, so that's
I suppose we always talk about mood boards, don't we? And concept boards, and it's kind of like ingrained in us that we say that, but in actual fact, what we mean is a thick piece of paper, which is going to, you know, because all you need is 20 boards, and your arm will be hanging off as you wander around London with your portfolio. So it's I think it's a good tip, really.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, scroll down to the next. I can't remember what was next now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So also what I did with my portfolio is, so this collection I did in the second year, I just mounted it on little bits of card, each fabric sample, and I found it worked really well to roll them up instead of having them. So some people do choose to just have them on a sheet, whereas I like to roll them up all together, and I found it easier then you just unravel it when you come to getting them out, and then they're a bit more physical, and you can, you know, play with them a bit and get them out and touch them, and instead of just kind of being stuck to a sheet, I think it's a bit nicer having them loose. I find that worked when I went for my internship, that she looked at my portfolio, and, you know, they are like throwing the fabric samples around a bit, so
Yeah.
it's good to have them loose like that, I think. And it also keeps them quite protected when they're all rolled together.
I mean, I think that sounds like a top tip as well, to have that sort of samples mounted in that way, and then you roll them up. I know that Lucy did that last week, so I think that's another great tip that, you know, 3 people have been saying, so that's really good. And
also for your concept ideas and sheets, not boards, you can use like fabric samples for your color, instead of just doing, say, paper or you know, just little paint swatches or something. Use actual fabric if you want for your color swatches. And I did a variety for this one. I did paper, fabric, and I think there was something else in there. I don't know if it was a bit of card, just for your color inspiration. It doesn't have to stick to one kind of choice. I think mix it up a bit.
Yeah, I think these look like bits of paper
Yeah,
or card, and then you've matched them exactly to your fabric swatches, and then you've stitched these fabric samples together, have you, or is that card?
Layered them, the fabric, layered them up, and then the shiny one's card, because I used a metallic binder on that one, so that one's card. Yeah.
What's really nice in here is you use that one photograph to get your color palette, so it's just that one photograph to get the color palette.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think you can, a lot of people sometimes, you know, you take from several inspiration, or you can just use one that's got everything you need. I don't think you necessarily need to have several color inspirations, but for that particular one, all the colors I liked were on that one, which was handy. And again, I've just shown the examples of the fabric swatches and how I had them. And you know, just another tip, not for your physical portfolio, but for your online portfolio and your Instagram and things like that, is, you know, taking quite nice photos for your social medias and online portfolio of your fabric samples or whatever samples you have, because you need them to be clear, really, for them to see, because especially now with the virtual world, is a lot of it is online, so they want to see good quality things on your portfolio, I'd say.
I think this is lovely. I'd forgotten how nice that you'd done this with this design, and how you photographed this bit of fabric against this, which is what we're encouraging everyone to do, to think about how things go together, because then you can start to imagine how they could be used. So yes, this particular shot here is really lovely, isn't it? It works very well.
Yeah, it's about something that you tutors would draw into us is, well, collection building and showing how they work alongside each other, each samples, and you know, the people who view your collection want to see how they do work together, not just separately. Also, another little thing I'd recommend doing is taking pictures of your sketchbooks, and well, for your physical portfolio, is maybe bring your favorite sketchbook, one that you think shows your best journey from a project maybe, or collect several pages from different sketchbooks. Don't have to be the same one, just so they can see physical work. And I think it's important for them to see your process on how you kind of work towards your final products. I think that's quite an important thing for them to see your journey. And especially color palettes and things like that, I think it's nice. I think they like to see your original inspiration and what you make from that original inspiration moving on. So that's just what I use for my online portfolio.
So you actually took photographs of your sketchbook for your online portfolio, yeah?
Yeah, because that was one of my favorite sketchbooks, I think, throughout the whole of uni. And so that is probably one that I'm most proud of, and I really enjoyed that particular project. So to me, that was a good one for me to put in, I think.
Was that a second year project, Belinda? Or was
that
was a colour project?
It was to do with that Bohemian opulence.
Yeah.
Actually, it's just I did a lot of colour work for that.
Can I just say that even though they're just photographs, you can really see a flavour of what you're all about, Belinda. So I know, you know, we're working digitally at the moment, but you know, if I was an employer putting my employability hat on, and somebody came to me with showing me this work, I'd be so impressed by that. Just the breadth of the research and the commitment to colour. Like, so, you know, I think that's just so simply put together, but it gives you a real insight into that designer. They look lovely. I've forgotten how gorgeous they were.
Yeah, they're lovely, aren't they, those photographs? And it just kind of gives you a whole flavour as to how you've come up with these colours.
I think just like what Emma said, they are like simply put together, but it's so clear, isn't it, about your journey and about what you're trying to achieve. It's really clear. And I think that's because it's so simply put out. It's not confusing. It's lovely.
Yeah. There is a real clarity, and you know, we often talk about like communicating that clarity, you know, communicating in a very clear way, because it has to be understood immediately visually. And I think, you know, you really do that so successfully, Belinda.
Belinda, nothing's changed. We'll continue to butt in at every opportunity.
I'm used to it, I think, now.
Have you missed that, Belinda?
I have, especially after last year. It's nice. It's a nice feeling having it all back again.
It's kind of nice in a way. I know probably everyone in the second and the third year are thinking, oh gosh, you know, we get so much advice. Which advice do we take and everything? I mean, did you find that really difficult, that you get different advice from different people? I mean, how did you handle that?
I mean, it can sometimes get overwhelming with the different advice, because at the end of the day, it's all to do with taste as well. You know, you're saying what your preferences are towards helping that student, but they're all going to be different because you all have your own little things. So I think it's just taking the advice that you think works for you best, really. I mean, that's how I thought about it, but I always try to be open-minded and take all of it and adapt it into my own, you know, my own way. But it was all very useful at the end of the day, and you sometimes don't realize at the time when you're thinking you're being stubborn and you're like, oh, I don't want to change this. Or I'd overthink a lot of things back in uni all the time. I was known for that. So that's something that, you know I needed to not do.
But you did well from it, Belinda. And I remember always saying to you, well, you know, it's really good to have different opinions because we are all different and individual. But if two or three people are giving you that same advice, then definitely take note of it.
Exactly. Do listen, guys. Do listen. Yes. The next one. What was the next one? Yeah, the ceramic tile. Another live brief. This one was quite sad because I kind of enjoyed doing this one because it was quite different. It was all about texture, and we're experimenting massively with texture and how we wanted to show it off as a tile, so we could do it in different ways as a physical tile, or I ended up doing paper tiles in the end.
Yeah.
So it didn't have to be, you know, a proper fancy looking tile in a sense. But again, the color, I think I wasn't too happy really with my color inspiration in the end, but I did keep it quite simple. And that was kind of the idea of it. It was meant to be quite simplistic, but embracing imperfections. So that's the idea of that concept for my tile. Scroll down a bit, Kathy, to the next page.
Okay, let me just whiz out of here. Okay.
So with my final board and visualization, I ended up doing 4 final tiles. One was mounted onto the board and I had 3 loose ones. So when we were going to present to the client, that didn't happen because they went into administration or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. Not lockdown, but administration.
So we couldn't present in the end, but I wasn't actually around when you did a presentation to someone. I can't remember who it was.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we got somebody, an industry sort of external industry person, and everyone did a presentation. So in a way, that was really useful because it's about kind of really editing down, which we're talking to the second years and the first years about this idea of really editing down about what this project's about and being able to present it in like 5 minutes, because the visuals do the talking, but obviously the verbal communication has to kind of work with that visual communication, if you like.
Yeah, and it was annoying because I missed out on, because I think I was unwell because I couldn't present in the end. My friend Lauren ended up doing it, bless her. So I was quite sad I couldn't do it because it would have been good practice to have done it. But the idea of the 4 final tiles was that I could Velcro the one that was stuck on the board off, and then it was just a bit more interactive for the people viewing it, who I was presenting to could interact with the tiles and see how they work together and that they're all different. Because that was the idea of the tile itself, was they're all imperfect and they could kind of work all together in different ways. So it was a bit annoying I couldn't present it, but
the visualization made a big difference to your design, didn't it?
Yeah, I think the visualization helped, and you can see it would want to work probably in a bathroom, but not necessarily had to be a bathroom. But that's why I kind of left it as quite a plain visual. I didn't want it to just be, you know, just for a bathroom, really. I wanted it to be a bit more open-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you scroll on to the next one. So this was another second year collection that I did. And yeah, so this one I really liked. It was very colourful. It was a nice colourful. I ended up using quite a lot of pastels in this. And again, only 2 photos for my inspiration, and I wanted it to be relevant to the whole collection itself. So I got the inspiration from the flowers that I was taking the concept from.
And are those little lollipop sticks that you painted onto?
Yeah, it's just little lollipop sticks, and I just painted using the binders that I use because I did a lot of screen printing for this project. So it was quite close to then the colours that I was using, and that was the concept board. So it's for young women's fashion, for high street fashion. I really enjoyed this project. I think looking back at it, there's a lot I would have changed. But I think
there always is, isn't there?
Yeah, it's just being self-critical, and you know, there's certain things, again, certain advice that I was told and I don't think I fully listened to. So do listen to the tutors, guys. Do listen.
You don't have to say that, Belinda.
No, but I should have.
But you did take advice, and I mean, there was quite a turning point in how you kind of approach stuff, and I won't say that when that is, because I know it's coming in the next slides.
Coming soon.
Yeah, coming soon.
Coming soon. So again, these are photos of collection building. So putting your fabric samples together and seeing how they work as separate mini collections. So that's what I did for this one. I did 3 separate mini collections. And, you know, they all work together well, those colours and those certain designs. And yeah, I think just photographing them in different kind of areas and separate, not all together, works well.
There's a real difference in scale in some of these things, aren't there?
Yeah, I did play with scale on that quite a lot. And I don't know, it's a mixture of screen print, digital. What else did I did discharge with the spotty designs. I wouldn't have chosen to have done the screen printing for the stripes again because it made the fabric very stiff. So if I was to do that again, I would have used something different. So that's another thing to kind of pay attention to, is sometimes with screen printing for fashion products especially, you know, it makes the fabric very stiff. So just think about maybe using a different, or, you know, different mediums maybe.
Belinda, how many of them are screen printed?
A lot, actually. How many?
Tell us which ones.
I think there's only 2. So the little kind of,
the lilac-y little ditzy flower, is that sublimated?
Yeah, they're sublimated.
Yeah.
And so the sunflowery type ones, and I think the rest was, and the bolder ones. Yeah, the rest are all screen printed.
Cool.
Yeah, I was in a very much of a screen printing phase then. I loved it.
What is this? Is this monoprint then in here, or?
So that was screen print, but I started it off by using flowers. I was actually pressing paint with flowers, is how the idea initially started, and then I made it onto a screen and then screen printed it.
Oh, wow.
I really liked that one. That was probably my favorite one.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And then I wasn't happy with my final visualizations for this last year, not in my second year. In my second year, I was thinking, oh yeah, lovely. And I ended up deciding scrapping that when I did my online portfolio last year and redid them. I used the same actual visuals. I just redid the whole kind of the rest of it and not had it on board. So if I was to take this to an interview now, I'd probably just get them professionally printed on nice paper instead of boards.
Yeah.
Boards are heavy. very heavy. So I thought this looked better for the actual collection itself. I think it represented the more playful version of what it was actually about instead of the boards myself. I just preferred it. So that's what I used for my online portfolio, those ones.
I've forgotten how lovely some of these little daisy prints are, because you can see that lovely watercolor effect. It's really simple, but it's very, very beautiful.
I feel like I should have done more of that really at uni. That was another thing. Yeah, there's things you look back on and you think, why didn't I do more of that, or why didn't I go further with this?
But don't you think that's natural though for any designer? If you're not thinking that, then you're just self-satisfied, aren't you?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think you're always thinking of, oh, I wish I did that better, or I should have done it this way. And I think that's just always what we're going to be like.
Yeah, that's really healthy.
Yeah, if you scroll down. So this was on my third year. So I would not recommend, though, going on an internship on your third year, guys. I do it before. But because of my situation and like living situation is I couldn't really get onto it till my third year. But I did. I managed to get myself one, and the beginning of my third year. So what was it? It was February I went, which again was quite a hard time because of dissertations and trying to think of what to do for final project. It was a bit mad, but I did it. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I don't think it would have been for everyone, this particular internship, but for me, it really kind of, I don't know, I just changed after doing this. It just
I would totally agree with that. You just kind of, and I think Emma will remember this as well, you just kind of came back with like new confidence somehow.
Yeah, it was a turning point for some reason. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but it was being in that environment, for one, just seeing how they work. They weren't using what we did at uni. We were using light boxes and things. None of that. You weren't tracing, you weren't light boxing, you were just drawing straight from a laptop. Basically, you get the inspiration from the laptop, you know, using Pinterest and things like that, and Google, good old Google, and just drawing from images of whatever, you know, they wanted you to do. And I felt for me that was like, I wouldn't usually have drawn animals and things. I was more into the kind of florals and things, and I just felt this new confidence, I guess. It's like, oh, okay, I can draw a bit better than I thought originally. Even though this, you know, I don't think you have to go into this course necessarily being an amazing drawer. You don't have to be amazing at drawing, because there's different things that you are going to be good at, not necessarily just drawing. But drawing is an important part, and I think for doing this, it made me realize how important drawing was and how much I needed to do it, because the more I did it, the better I got. And I think for me, that was my issue. Maybe I just didn't draw enough in my first and second year, or try different things. And then this just made me try something different that I wouldn't have normally have done. And then I just thought, oh, well, I'll try different things again. So
that's really good to hear. And I have not prompted you to say that, have I, Belinda?
No, yeah.
But it's really, really important. So second years and third years, please take note.
Yeah, drawing's definitely important. Mark making, drawing, things like that. I was a bit naive to it, and I didn't draw enough, and then I did, and it helped me. This internship, though, if you want to go to draw and kind of learn a bit about digitally designing and things like that, I'd recommend it. But it's a weird environment, and it's very silent. There wasn't much talking. Luckily, there was this girl who started the same day as me, and so we were quite chatty with each other, but it was a very quiet atmosphere and quite tense almost. But I still loved it. I did love it. I had a really good time. Okay. And I'm glad I did it. So I think it's important.
You're very self-critical, Belinda, because I was forgetting how lovely some of your work is.
Yeah, it's got better, I think. It's definitely got better.
Shall I move on?
Yes, please. That's just more of the prints that I did on my internship, because they told you what they wanted, so they tell you roughly what they think you could do, and then you just did it. And they might tell you a couple of things to maybe change, or colors maybe slightly change and things like that, but you just got left to it really for the week, and then you just had to send them over the designs by the end of the week before them to get it professionally printed. And yeah, so it was good fun. It was good fun, and I think I learned a lot. I got the 3 animal prints professionally printed myself for my own portfolio. These ones I haven't yet, but I think I will eventually, because you couldn't take them with you because they're not technically your design anymore. So you do have to make sure you credit where you go on your internship or whoever it is, the studio, because I don't own those designs anymore. So
yeah, so I can see, I mean, I can definitely see the influence from this onto here. It's starting to be like a little bit of your handwriting as well. But you're saying that really you need to have quite a variety of handwriting if you're working as a textile designer.
Yeah, I think it's important to not stick to one thing all the time, because that's what I was doing. But I think you need to adapt it slightly to, I think they want to see versatility and that you can do just more than one thing. But also at the same time, you do need to make it look like it's your work. You know, it's still got to represent you as a designer and your own style, but also showing that it's versatile at the same time. It's quite hard. I think you just kind of, it clicks one day maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving on. Keep forgetting to say, like, move on.
Yeah.
So this was my final major project. Paradise Lost and Found is what I called it. So this is when we went digital as well, like you guys are doing now. And so my concept board and color palette and inspiration is all digital for this one. So I think if I was going to go on an actual interview, physical interview, I'd probably get those printed off on nice bits of paper for it, I think, to go alongside my wallpapers. And if you scroll down,
Lovely colour there.
and again, I only use 2 images. I don't know, it's a recurring theme for me.
Well, I suppose if you choose those images really carefully.
I think I don't like to overwhelm the colour palette. I think I just like to get it, and I usually use my own images. I prefer using my own images than others, but that's because I quite enjoy photography a bit, so that's probably where it comes from. So my final wallpaper samples, again, I've taken pictures like I did with the other ones, is collection building. I kind of put them together, and so you can just see how they work as a collection. Try to split it up from the busier designs to the softer designs. I would probably, if I was taking this to an actual interview though, I would take a little suitcase, because I've got quite a few wallpapers now in my portfolio, so it wouldn't really, I wouldn't be able to put that in a folder portfolio, so I'd go with a suitcase. And actually I think it would be easier to carry around, you can pull it along that way instead of carrying big huge folders, and I think that would be easier for me. And I think quite a few people that have come in to do portfolio things into uni did bring a suitcase instead. You have to stick with a folder. If you don't want to, put it in a little suitcase, because then you just wheel it.
Yes, it is very useful being able to wheel something, especially if you've got heavy, samples and things. And what about these wallpapers though? Would you kind of cut them to the kind of repeat size and put them onto paper, or would you keep them rolled up?
I'd keep them rolled up, but I haven't had a physical interview yet, so mine was virtually my interview. So I'm not sure. I think I'd decide a bit closer to the time, but at the moment they are just rolled up all together, and it actually, they're not too bulky, luckily, so I think that would work fine in a suitcase, because it rolls up quite nicely and tightly, so it's that's the advantages of wallpaper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Belinda, where did you get them printed?
I used Contrado for these. The one thing that I would have done differently with this is if I had, the thing is I was on a budget because we weren't using the uni facilities, so it was a lot pricier than getting it done at uni. I would have chosen a variety of different papers that I would have got it printed on than just the one. I used just, I think, maybe one different one, but I did use the same paper. I just went with the cheap option at that point.
Yeah.
Because you can see, you know, you can get a gloss finish, a matte finish, and different weights and things like that, which I think if I was at uni I would have experimented with more, but I didn't for this. So
I think, Catherine, I think Contrado, haven't they got a 40% discount for?
I think both Contrado and Silk Bureau are both really good student discounts.
Yeah. So I don't know whether they had those at that time for you, because they, you know, they've kind of wised up a little bit to it now, I think.
they had that sort of discount. I can't remember what. I don't think it was 40%, because that's damn good.
Yeah, it is. It is. So
scroll down a bit, Kathy, to the next one. So this was just another kind of tip. If you don't want to take a sketchbook, then just paper clip some, or bulldog clip some loose drawings like I've done there. I wouldn't, for this one, I just did so many loose drawings that I didn't do a sketchbook, because again, we weren't doing the physical sketchbooks, it was all digital. So I've just got loads of loose drawings from this collection, which, you know, if you wanted to take to an interview, which I'd recommend, because they'll want to see your drawings, you just put them all together, and then again, it's easy to carry and doesn't take up a lot of room, keeps it neat, and then they can, you know, have a little scroll through on the interview. And again, taking nice photos of your final work as well is important for your online portfolios and social medias.
okay.
Yeah, if you scroll down, and again, that's just some more of them, and it's just showing how they work together. So the monkey and the Paradise Vine one just works. You can see where the color palette comes together there. I just think, you know, it's showing the color palette and how they work together as a collection, not just separate designs.
It's a very lovely, very, very simple visual, that, and photograph. Did you do that at home?
Yeah, I just did that at home. Yeah.
And what about the shadow? You created the shadow, or you just created that? That just happened? That
was natural. Yeah, natural light. I was lucky because I don't have the best lighting in this house, actually, but I was lucky with that. I think it was a good sunny day there.
I think
one that somebody approached you about this one on the right.
Yeah, so that's the one. How I got my freelance job after uni was because of that design. So that was pretty exciting. I'll say about that in a minute if you want.
I think we're all becoming aware of his light situation in these. Like the room that I'm in, I never kind of took notice of when the light comes in, but it's usually this time on a Friday, and I'm usually like this. Yeah, just for photography wise, it's kind of, yeah, people are finding out about the.
Yeah, but you can do it. I mean, as long as you've got a white wall, just that little bit of leaf coming in there, it's just quite nice, isn't it?
White wall is good, definitely good. Notice it's a good old. These are just pages from my digital lookbook, so I'd get that eventually printed off, I think, for physical interviews, but at the moment there's no need to for just virtual things. So I just did like a mini lookbook for my digital sketchbook that you guys will be doing for your final major project. So I just made it look like that was like 2 separate pages, and that's how it would kind of represent to me. That was how I put it together.
So you put this like you would do a wallpaper book, like, because we've got lots of wallpaper books in the studio. So it would always it's really lovely the way you've just put the name and then the print as it's seen, and then a little visualization. Works so well, really works well.
Yeah, I did that after looking at, so for this project, when I was on my internship, I went to different places like House of Hackney and where did I go? Osborne and Little and things like that. So I went to those shops and they had their lookbooks out on the table. So I had a quick look through while I was there and got ideas for it, just see how they actually do it. And it really helped for this because it was quite simple.
Yeah, it's lovely. Do you want to move on?
Yeah, scroll down. And I think that's all I've got actually on there. So the Paradise Vine, though, I can talk about that one now. So scroll down a bit, Kathy, to the next one.
That one?
Yeah, so that's the design that got me hired for. So after finishing uni, only about a month after, there was this post on Instagram that I came across about a job. So I interviewed, I emailed them straight away as I saw it, and just sent them kind of like a little message, kind of like you would with the cover letter. It was just that version, CV and online portfolio link, and said I was interested. And then the day after it was, the lead color specialist of that company contacted me saying she fell in love with this design, and that got me the job. They wanted that sort of inky style and that painterly style that I've got on there for some wallpapers that they're now doing on their website. They started off really as just a paint company, and they're quite a new company. They're called Lick Home, and they want to branch out to they want to eventually become a big homeware brand. So they're building up their wallpapers now. And there were 68 applicants of this, and 5 of us got hired for them. And it was really, it was really good to do it. We all did.
So that was because you were quick.
Yes.
You didn't think too much about it. You just did it.
Yes, I ended up, what did I have to do? So she asked me to do a few designs that I could see them selling. So I just put some ideas together. I only had a few days. So she said, I don't expect anything crazy, just like a few ideas. So I did some little kind of digital concept boards as such for them, and with some visualizations. And so I only had to do that small amount of work for them, and they were interested, which was really, really quite awesome after a month after finishing uni. So that was good. It was a good kind of point after uni so soon.
Yeah, I think it's a confidence booster for you, but sort of not everybody would do that. Some people would and ah about doing it, but you actually did it and got noticed. So I mean, that's a really important lesson, I think. And it's great that you were able to do that. And I think you kind of gained a lot of confidence from that work experience, probably, I think. Yeah,
I think it makes you realize you need to put yourself out there. And even if, there's been studios I've contacted since finishing uni that you don't hear anything back at all because they don't want to, or they're too busy, or they don't, they're not interested, which is fine. Don't let it dishearten you, just keep on going. And because I did start applying to studios probably about, I don't know, maybe June, a few months before we were finishing. So I'd recommend getting on it early, but the only thing is, you're not finished your final major project. So you've only got your previous work to show before. And really, I wasn't overly happy with anything in particular till my final year. So maybe that's why I didn't. I don't know what it was. It just for me it was just keep applying, just keep emailing. I managed to get in contact with another designer who is interested in doing some freelance work. It's just not right at this moment, but she's got my details, and she said, I'll contact you when I've got something for you. So that there is always a chance, even if it doesn't happen straight away, they'll keep your details, and they'll contact you when they want you. It's not necessarily at that particular point. But just don't let it get you down. Just keep applying, I would, and keep looking on the job sites.
It's really interesting hearing you say all this, Belinda, that, you know, it sounds like you've become a lot more resilient in that you put yourself out there, you kind of, you know, try and find opportunities, but something might come of it and something might not. But if you don't actually do it, then the opportunity's never going to come to you, is it?
No, exactly. And it's not something that is going to happen overnight. You need to work at it. And I'm still not where I want to be now. So, you know, it's still early days for me. But I've started, and I think it's just going to be a slow progress. Maybe for some people it might be an instant progress. It depends what you want to do when you finish university, I think. For me, I want to be a freelance designer, and it's not an easy thing to do, especially straight away. So it's something that you need to, I think, build and work on for a while, get a good portfolio. I can imagine, you know, then that's just something I'm starting on and working on. You know, if any of you guys want to actually ask any questions at any point or just a bit of advice, you know, I'm happy to help. So if you wanted to follow me on Instagram and drop me a message, feel free. I don't mind. I'll help where I can on any advice and tips.
All right, thank you very much, Belinda. I'm going to stop presenting now. Gosh, we kept going for a good 45 minutes there. So some really interesting stuff, and it's lovely to hear you, and it's great to welcome you back, because we've kind of seen your journey all the way from first year and all the kind of ups and lows, and it's just really lovely to get you back. And you know, I'm sure that it's really useful for all the students. So it'd be really nice for anyone other than staff to ask a question. It would be really great.
I had one question.
Claudia, yeah.
I was just going to ask, in the industry, do they mainly use like secondary research, or have you had any cases where they've wanted you to go collect your own research, or have you felt like, do they want you to just use stuff that's on like Pinterest and Google, or do they like push you to use like your own stuff?
For the internship, I was actually quite surprised. It almost took me aback a bit. They don't get out and get their own inspiration. Maybe the studio director does. I think she makes inspiration elsewhere. But no, we just had to all internet, which was quite sad, I thought, because I like going out and getting my own inspiration. So that to me was probably a big downfall from the internship, because you are just desk, which wasn't really, I don't think, for all of us. But for the wallpaper company though, it's your own inspiration. They just tell you roughly what they're after, and then they leave you to it. So that gives you scope to go get your own inspiration, which was nice.
Okay, and I did have one more. Do you find when you were applying for jobs, sending your portfolio over digitally, and not being able to like talk and present it, did you ever consider like adding in notes to your portfolio and making it like to like explain the visuals more, or did you feel like your visuals were enough to?
I didn't. So for my final major project, I did put like a little bit on my online portfolios, just saying about a bit more of an insight to where the inspiration came from. So I don't think for every single one you'd need to, every project, but some of them do. I think your visuals speak for themselves.